First things first, before I start this video, I want to and I really need to make a big disclaimer. I am not a nutritionist, I am not a dietitian, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a health coach, none of that. I'm speaking solely off of my personal experiences and from what I have learned from dietitians myself. If you are struggling with fueling or finding the right foods for you, I'm going to put some different dietitians that I know of down in the description below. I highly recommend checking them out, and even if you don't need any guidance or professional help, just give them a follow on Instagram, look at their websites, check out their Facebook pages because they're just filled with wisdom and awesome advice. These dietitians have a little bit more focus in the running industry, so if you are a runner looking for a little bit more guidance, they're definitely the perfect type of fit. So I want to talk about pre-run fueling, and there's definitely a lot more conversation to be had about intra-workout fueling, which would be during a run, and post-workout fueling, which would obviously be after. But for the sake of this video, I want to talk about and focus on pre-run fuel. I personally think and have learned that pre-run fuel is so important and so vital for our bodies, for our performance, and for our recovery. Running in a depleted state can really hinder our body's ability to recover properly, and it can leave us feeling even more exhausted than we should. Also, I just really don't recommend racing on an empty stomach just because you're exerting yourself so much. So I think it's really important to practice your fueling strategy during your training so that when race day comes, you have all the foods down, you know what you're eating, you know your stomach can handle it, and you can just focus on the race and the task at hand. But fueling before my runs honestly used to really stress me out, and sometimes it still does. In college, we always had practice in the afternoon, so I was always struggling with finding the foods that work for me and my stomach, finding the right meal times, the right snack times, and finding whatever was digestible for me so I could show up at practice with good energy, but also not have to run to the bathroom in the middle of a run or a rep. There have been periods of times for me when I would barely make it to a bathroom or to a tree in the middle of a run or in the middle of practice. I used to, and sometimes still do, carry around like 3 paper towels with me just in case of an emergency. And it's really stressful and it causes a lot of anxiety pre-run and when you're trying to figure out what to eat. So for me, post-college, I've had the luxury to kind of test out when running works best for me. And honestly, running in the morning has worked tremendously and has helped so much with my digestive issues. I find that if I have to wait until the afternoon to get my run or workout in, that's when my stomach really starts to be affected. So kind of going off that, your pre-run fuel is going to look different based off of a few different factors. The first factor is timing. So when exactly your run is going to occur during your day and how many hours you have before your run to both eat and digest. Another factor would be workout intensity. I personally believe though that you should be fueling no matter what your workout intensity is looking like. But if you do have a higher intensity workout or you have a big long run coming up, your fueling might look a little different than if you were just going out the door for a quick shakeout or a quick recovery run. And that's solely just to help with energy levels and to help from bonking, and just because you're using a lot more energy both mentally and physically to get through that long run or that long workout. The third factor that could have an impact on your fueling strategy would be bowels and intolerances. So everyone's stomach and eating habits are completely different, and I cannot emphasize this enough that you need to find a fueling strategy that works for you. What works for me might not work for you. What works for your teammate might not work for you. It takes a lot of experimentation and trial and error to get down a routine that you know is great for your stomach and great for your performance. You know your body best, and you can continue to learn about it as you kind of test out the different fueling options. The fourth factor that could potentially affect your fueling would be your running climate. If you're lacing up for a super hot and sweaty run, you might want to take in consideration some different hydration options to go along with your pre-run fuel. Even for cooler temperatures, honestly, hydration is so important and can really impact your performance and your recovery. So a few sips on an electrolyte drink like Gatorade or Powerade Zero or Noon, there are so many different options, can be really beneficial before you head out the door. I want to talk about the way I fuel to see if it can kind of help you and offer some guidance and kind of offer some ideas if you're still trying to figure out what works best for you. I usually wake up like 45 minutes before I head out the door for my run. So caffeine for me is a big necessity. I need it to kind of wake up, get things moving, and honestly, I really need it to live. Some runners in the morning or whenever during their day simply cannot have caffeine because it'll really mess up their stomach and their bowels. So for me, I stick to espresso. We have an espresso machine here, so I stick to a shot or two of espresso depending on my workout intensity, and I find that has worked amazing. It's low volume, but high caffeine. So it wakes me up, gets things moving, and gets my energy levels up, ready to go for my workout. I also am sipping water from literally the moment I wake up to the moment I head out the door. If I am gearing up for a run in the summer or a long run or a big marathon workout, then in addition to water, I'll also be sipping on some Gatorade Zero, some Noon, or before big long runs and tempo runs and races, the Maurten hydration mix has worked really, really well for me, and I really love it. I only take it for long runs or big workouts just because I only have so many of these, but this has been really awesome. And not only is it a great hydration mix, but it does have, I think, 160 calories and some more carbs. Very simple, very good on the stomach. There's no flavor or anything, but it just like really absorbs in you and keeps you hydrated, and it's just a little bit of extra fuel to help me as I'm going for my run or my workout. Since my window is pretty small from when I wake up to when I run, I keep the fueling really simple. And by simple, I mean very little fiber, very little protein, very little fat, and mostly carbs. My absolute go-to this past year have been Clif Bars. Usually I'll either have like a mini Clif Bar if I'm able to get them from the store, but I also really like having full Clif Bars because I'll usually have half of it or like 3/4 of it before my run, and then I'll put the rest in the fridge to have it immediately when I get back to start that recovery process right away. So some other things in the past that have worked for me, or some ideas for you to potentially try, would just be like a simple piece of toast with jelly, a few pretzels, or a few crackers. You could get a gel, so Honey Stinger and a bunch of other brands make some gels. I like Honey Stinger. Maurten also makes gel with caffeine in it as well. There's Liquid Energy from GU. These are all just ones that I have tried and I've also had during my workouts and my races. Those are awesome. They make little gummies. You could also drink your calories, so whether that's Gatorade or just some sort of mix that hydrates you and gives you some carbs and gives you some sugar, that works too. You could even do something sweet like a Pop-Tart or a Fig Newton or a cookie. Putting some sort of fuel in your body is going to help so much. It's going to help with your focus, with your energy levels, with your overall endurance, and it'll help with stomach issues and recovery as well. Now, if you're running later in the day or you have a few hours to digest, your fueling is probably going to look a little different. So usually for me, on race day, I wake up a few hours before the race and before I start warming up, usually just because of travel, packet pickup, and just to kind of get my bearings before the gun goes off. Since I have a few more hours to digest, I want to get in some more fuel, I don't want to be hungry, and my metabolism is starting to go a little bit more. If I'm up like 2 to 3 hours before my race or before my warm-up, I'll usually add some protein and a little bit of fat to my breakfast. Now, once again, I want to emphasize that this is what has worked for me. You need to find something that works for you. So I'll add in some egg whites, an egg, and then I'll stick with my Clif Bar around 90 minutes before the race, and then I'll also include the Maurten hydration mix. And I'll probably include a banana, and I'm always carrying around extra gel or extra gummies just in case I'm still feeling a little hungry. For me, sticking to low fiber foods is what has worked if I have a race in a few hours or a race later in the day, or I have to push my workout back into the afternoon. I can worry about all the veggies, all the fiber, all the fruit after my race. I really, once again, I'm gonna emphasize how individual this is. I know so many runners, so many of my past teammates, so many of my friends who can down a bowl of oatmeal, a big bowl of oatmeal with a lot of fruit before they run or before they race and be completely fine. I know people who can have salads at lunch and run later and be fine as well. I just have learned from experimentation and just from years of experience that just doesn't work for me. My pre-race meal has also changed as I evolved as a runner. One of my staples back in college and back in high school would be a bagel with peanut butter and banana about 3 to 4 hours before my race. Basically, pairing a carb with a little bit of protein and fat can be great if you have a few hours before your run. It can be great for satiety and great for your energy levels. Peanut butter, almonds, nut butter, eggs, egg whites, and once again, take everything that I'm saying very lightly because I am not a professional, I'm not a dietitian, and I am not a nutritionist. I'm speaking just what I have learned and what has worked best for me. If you are a morning runner and you are having a hard time kind of figuring out the right foods for you, or even if you're an afternoon runner, my advice is to start small. Maybe one day you eat half a piece of toast before you head out for your run, or 1 cracker. Kind of test it out, see how you feel, and slowly but surely you'll be able to work up to a good quantity that makes you feel good when you're outside hitting the pavement. Same goes for caffeine. It's all about experimentation, trial, and error. So if you have any further questions or you need any more guidance, I strongly recommend checking out the dietitians that I linked down down in my description. And if you have a pre-run or pre-workout fueling strategy that works for you, definitely let me know in the comments below. I think it's really fascinating how it can differ so individually. And if you made it this far, as always, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. I would love for you to click that like button and subscribe to my channel. I will see you in my next video, but until then, happy running.